Isn't it amazing how just a tiny scrap of fossil, something you could almost hold in your hand, can spark these huge scientific debates?
Oh, absolutely. It's
We're
fascinating.
going to do just that today.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this because we're plunging into the deep end with the story of Arstanosaurus,
Right.
a dinosaur from the late Cretaceous period in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, and Arstanosaurus is a really interesting puzzle. Our main source here is, well, the Wikipedia entry for it,
Okay.
which actually does a great job pulling together the scientific literature. It's kind of like a roadmap to the research.
Exactly. It's like having a cheat sheet to years of paleontological detective work.
Right.
And your mission, listening in, is basically to follow this twisting tale.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it was first found, the surprising changes in how scientists thought about it.
Yeah.
There was even a potential identity swap.
Yeah, that's a key part of the story.
And what this whole saga tells us about, well, how science itself works and evolves.
And what's fascinating right from the start is how much paleontology relies on what we don't have, you know?
Right. Absence of evidence.
Exactly. The first bits of Arstanosaurus were found back in 1982
Okay, 82.
by Shilin and Sislav in Kazakhstan's Bostobi Formation. That rock layer dates back to the Santonian Campanian Age, late Cretaceous.
So picture the scene. Kazakhstan, millions of years ago. And what did they actually find? Not like a full skeleton leaping out of the ground, right?
No, definitely not. More like a whisper from the past, as you say. We're talking about a piece of left upper jawbone, a partial maxilla.
Okay, just part of the jaw.
Yeah, the holotype designated AAIZ11, and possibly the bottom end of a left thigh bone, a femur, AAIZ12, both found near Quasi-Lorda.
Just those two bits.
Primarily, yes. From those fragments, Shalin and Sislav gave it the name Arstanosaurus acherganensis,
Which means?
Arstan lizard, named after the Arstan well nearby. And based mostly on that jaw fragment, the initial thought was, okay, this looks like a hadrosaur.
A duck-billed dinosaur.
One of the duckbills, yeah. So right from the beginning, the evidence was, well, scant, which meant the picture wasn't crystal clear, a good reminder that those early classifications can be pretty tentative.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This new dinosaur, based on these tiny pieces, it sort of vanished from the scientific chat for over a decade.
It did, yeah. The source notes, it was largely ignored.
Why? Why ignore a new dinosaur?
Yeah.
Seems odd.
Well, it's a great question. I think it highlights how evidence, or the lack of it, drives things with so little to go on. There just weren't enough unique features, diagnostic characteristics, for other scientists to confidently place it or get really excited about digging deeper.
Not enough meat on the bones, so to
Right.
speak.
It just didn't provide enough solid clues at the time.
But then the plot thickens.
Yeah.
Mid-90s, right.
Suddenly, this idea pops up. Maybe Arstanosaurus wasn't a duckbill at all.
Okay.
Maybe it was a ceratopsian.
Wow. Okay, one of the horned dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like Triceratops, that's a big switch.
A huge switch. And the Wikipedia entry points to L.A. Nessoff's work in 1995 as being really key here.
He's off. Okay.
He looked at that same partial upper jaw, that maxilla,
The original piece.
the original piece, yes, and saw different features or interpreted them differently, features that seemed to him more like the horned dinosaurs.
Huh. So the same bone, different interpretation.
Precisely. And this potential identity swap really shows how much interpretations can change based on the same few fragments, especially, when new knowledge comes along or you just look from a different angle.
Horned dinosaur roaming ancient Kazakhstan. That would have been pretty significant. But something tells me its identity crisis wasn't quite over yet.
You're right, it wasn't. Not long after the ceratopsian idea gained a bit of steam, other researchers took another look.
Okay, a reevaluation.
Kind of, yeah. They argued that the features Nessoff pointed to as being ceratopsian-like, well, they could actually be explained in other ways, maybe just how the bone was preserved or the angle it was viewed from.
So it comes down to how you interpret these little bumps and grooves on the bone. That's amazing, like looking at clouds and seeing different animals.
It really is like that sometimes. And this reevaluation suggested the jaw actually did share similarities with Bactrosaurus,
Okay, who's Bactrosaur?
an earlier type of Hadrosauroid. That's the broader group that includes the true hadrosaurs, the duckbills.
Ah, okay. So back towards the duckbill family, but maybe not quite the main group.
Sort of. But they couldn't say for sure. Arstanosaurus ended up being labeled indeterminate, meaning
Okay.
its exact place was uncertain, almost like a placeholder. The source even calls it a dubious name.
Dubious, ouch.
Yeah, in scientific terms, that means there just isn't enough good evidence to be really confident it's a distinct valid species based on what we have.
Right, not the best label. And what about that thigh bone, the femur? Did that help clear things up?
Sadly, no. The later analysis basically considered that femur uninformative.
Uninformative.
It just didn't have enough unique characteristics to help pinpoint whether Arstanosaurus was a Hadrosaurid, a ceratopsian, or something else entirely. Really shows why you need good diagnostic fossils.
Definitely. So the most recent consensus, then, what does that say? You mentioned the Dinosauria.
Right, the 2004 edition. That big compilation puts Arstanosaurus back in the Hadrosaurid ballpark.
Okay.
But still with that big qualifier,
Sure.
indeterminate Hadrosaurid. So it's kind of come full circle, but landed on maybe.
Maybe Hadrosaurid. Wow.
Oh,
Still so much uncertainty.
precisely. And if we zoom out a bit, look at other discoveries in that part of the world, it adds another layer.
Well, what?
Well, in 2012, much more complete and clearly identifiable Hadrosaurid fossils were found in the same general area of Kazakhstan. And they were named Batarosaurus.
Batarosaurus. Okay, so a definite duckbill cousin living nearby. Does that help with Arstanosaurus?
Well, it suggests that, yes, Hadrosaurids were definitely present in that region during the late Cretaceous.
Makes sense.
Which makes it more plausible that Arstanosaurus could belong to that group. But because the Arstanosaurus material itself is so fragmentary,
Right.
it's still really hard to say exactly how it relates to Batarosaurus or any other Hadrosaurid for that matter.
And it seems poor Arstanosaurus even got mixed up with another dinosaur
Yeah.
from somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, there was some confusion for a while with something called Godolosaurus.
Hadrosauros.
That's a hadrosaurid from the Beyond Shire Formation over in Mongolia. Different place, different rock layer.
Okay.
But sometimes in older popular books or maybe early research, you might see Arstanosaurus remains incorrectly identified as Godolosaurus or vice versa.
What are the mix-up? Just fragmentary stuff again?
Pretty much. It just highlights the challenges, Trying to classify bits and pieces found miles and potentially millions of years apart. But the consensus now is clear. Godolosaurus is its own distinct thing from Mongolia.
Okay, so separate identities confirmed. Now, if we just, for a moment, imagine Arstanosaurus was a typical hadrosaurid, what can we picture about its life?
Okay, well, assuming it was a hadrosaurid, it would have been a plant eater, an herbivore,
Right.
likely capable of walking on two legs, maybe dropping to all fours to browse low-lying vegetation.
And the famous duckbill teeth.
Oh, yeah, the teeth are incredible. Hadrosaurids had these amazing dental batteries, hundreds of teeth packed together, constantly growing and replacing each other, creating these really effective grinding surfaces for chewing tough plants. It's like they had, well, a built-in food processor.
A biological food processor?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Those self-sharpening, ever-replacing teeth are just amazing. Shows how specialized they were.
Absolutely. Very well adapted for their diet.
So, taking a step back now, looking at this whole journey, Arstanosaurus' identity crisis. What's the big takeaway for you?
I think the story of Arstanosaurus is just a perfect illustration that our understanding of prehistoric life isn't static. It's not set in stone, ironically.
Right.
It's constantly evolving. New finds, new ways of looking at old evidence, they can lead to really significant shifts in thinking. Even something as basic as, what kind of dinosaur is this, can be really complex and debated.
Absolutely. It's not like we have a time machine, right? We can't just pop back and check.
Exactly. We're piecing together this immense puzzle from clues that are often, well, very limited.
Like a jaw fragment and a bit of leg bone.
Precisely. It's a continuous process of refinement. You propose a hypothesis, you test it against the fossils you have, and sometimes, like with Arstanosaurus, those ideas get revised or even overturned as we learn more.
So just to quickly recap for everyone listening, Arstanosaurus went from being this perhaps overlooked duckbill to maybe being a horned dinosaur.
Yeah, the ceratopsian phase.
And then back again to this uncertain spot, probably somewhere in the broader duckbill family tree, but we can't be sure.
Still a bit dubious.
And all based on essentially a tiny piece of jaw and a maybe related thigh bone.
It really underscores the importance of every single fossil find, doesn't it? No matter how small it seems.
Yeah.
Each fragment holds potential. Potential to spark new questions, new research, and add just a tiny bit more detail to our picture of life millions of years ago.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How many other scientific facts that seem clear-cut today might actually have these complex, winding histories buried underneath?
That's a great point.
It's such a powerful reminder that the scientific journey is always ongoing. It's full of these twists and turns, and our current understanding is always, provisional, always subject to the next discovery.
Absolutely. Always more to learn.
Well, thanks for diving into the fascinating and slightly mysterious world of Arstanosaurus with us.
My pleasure. It's a great example of science in action.